Well, good day. Welcome back to the Secret Solve program where we look at this book and we look at these authors and we try to figure out what they were doing when they put together the book The Secret back in the 1980s. And I've been doing a series on looking at the puzzles in the back of the book, and I've got a few things that I just had in my browser and I thought I'd get rid of them. I've tried to get concluded on my series and move on to something else, but uh, this is something I spent quite a bit of time on and doing a lot of research. And so I thought I'd just go ahead and finish up by going over a few things that I have bookmarked that I forgot to go over in the previous shows. And I'm just going to start with, I think I'm just going to start with the movie The Way We Were. So the reason I'm going to go talk about The Way We Were is because it was a film, and it was a really impactful film, I guess, back in the day, and it starred several people that I think might be pictured in the back of the book, especially Robert Wagner and Barbara Streisand, and the main one I'm going to talk about is Barbara Streisand because Barbara Streisand. Uh, Appears to me to be the woman sitting on the rocks with the hair, uh, the braided hair, and so I think that since I think that's who that is, um, and you can Google a number of different places on the internet where you'll see her hair that was in braids at one time, etc. But I think Barbara Streisand is the excuse me, pardon me. Let's see, in the back of the book, I think Barbara Streisand is I think she could possibly be the nymphomane because of this hairstyle. And because it appears the lips are in the face of a singer. Um, I just like her for this one. Um, but anyway, so there's a lot about Barbara. She's still alive. She was been a singer for years. She's had a lot of life experience. So picking out what's the most important part of this is going to be difficult. But she's a Brooklyn native, born in '42. Her mother's name was Diana Ida Rosen, and Emanuel Streisand's her father. Again, another Jewish person with Polish, Ukrainian, Russian Empire. Uh, in fact, her grandparents were from the uh, Russian Empire. But anyway, just picking through this a little bit, she was considered bright and inquisitive. However, she lacked discipline, often shouting out answers to questions out of turn. She was in the PS Public School 89 in Brooklyn. And I don't know, there's got to be people that match up with Byron Price's growing up in New York. And I don't know exactly who they are, but here's the Diary of Anne Frank. When she was 14, she was in this, and again, you can't get probably more interesting than something like that. Um, she lived. Her mother was horrified by her daughter's gypsy-like lifestyle. So anyway, she I guess kind of lived kind of freely. She did the night show circuit with Phyllis Diller, and I think Phyllis Diller could be in the back of the book as one of these other ones. But um, Ethel Merman and all of these singers from that period, any of them could be this. But the other thing is, uh, she was also in this audition for the musical I Can Get It For You Wholesale. And if you look at the back of the book, you've got that there's a story about buying wholesale. The big box store business, buying in large quantities. And then the other thing is, she played with Elliot Gould and eventually married Elliot Gould. And that's why I like Barbara for this because I'm not so sure Elliot Gould isn't also in the back of the book as the Oh, let's see which character I think which doll I think he could be. Okay, just a second. Sorry about that. Well, I might not be able to find him right off, but I think if you just look at Elliot Goode's face and go to the back of the book, you get a couple of people he could that could also be in here. But anyway, she did the Sleeping Bee, her first album. She's a singer as well. But anyway, just look through this. Look at her appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show. Look at her hair in a couple of different times during the '60s and '70s, and look at her and the way we were. On a clear day, you can see forever. Our personal life, again, I mentioned the one that I think is most interesting, and that's her marriage to Elliot Gould. Uh, so there's that. She's still, I mean, this is one of the people that are still alive that I think was lampooned in the book. So pretty sure there's probably a little bit of consternation on the part of the producers of The Secret to have me spend a whole lot of time on this one. Um, let's see, who else do I have? Do I still have Elliot Gould? Yeah, I have him bookmarked. So Elliot Gould, or Elliot Goldstein, he was an August birth baby, uh, and he's had a very long career in Hollywood. He was in Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice in 1969, which is another one of these coming of age movies that everybody remembers from this. But he was born in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, and his mother was, "Here's Lucy." His mother's name is Lucille Raver. But here's the kicker for Elliot Gould. Lucy sold artificial flowers to beauty shops, and his father, Bernard Goldstein, worked in the garment business as a textiles buyer. And I found this flower theme, this flower theme. Why is there flowers in all of them? And maybe they're just trying to tie this back to Elliot Gould, uh, the ghoulish figure, if you will. Uh, but his family was also Jewish from Ukraine, Poland, and Russia. Uh, he graduated from professional children's school. A professional children's school, that's like a kindergarten for adults. Anyway, so he got a role on Broadway in the same production as Barbara Streisand. I can get it for you wholesale. Um, and then Gould made his feature film debut in the comedy Quick, Let's Get Married. And I think this one was another, Barbara Eden was in this one with Elliot Gould. But anyway, so I just think that old Elliot Gould and could be in this somewhere. I don't know where. Uh, he was in this movie, Falling in Love Again. Uh, he hosted Saturday Night Live. Uh, uh, he returned in Capricorn 1 in '78. He was in Capricorn 1, by the way, had O.J. Simpson in it. But O.J. Simpson probably wasn't having quite as many problems back when the book came out as he later had. Um, but his last role before the book came out was called The Lady Vanishes. uh, so, anyway, Elliot Gould. Look at Elliot Gould. See if you think you can see him in the back of the book somewhere. Uh, Okay, the other thing that just bothers me is everybody thinks the leg eater. Everybody, everybody thinks the leg eater is a statue, and I keep looking at that thing, and I'm wondering if it's a kangaroo leg instead of a thing in Montreal. And I don't know. Nobody does the research to see if that particular statue could be found anywhere else. I've been hoping to find it. I've been hoping to find the leg eater in Michigan somewhere. But here was a thought I had. What if that's actually a kangaroo thing? Now we need to consider that kangaroos. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is in the backyard barbecue. Um, I think that backyard barbecue might have some semblance of looking like a kangaroo. And I don't know where we put a kangaroo in all these stories, but if you like a solve idea for Kansas City, there's a university there. They have kangaroos, the roos, if you will, and that would get you to Roosevelt. So who I think Elliot Gould. I think he looks most like the geodesic gnome. So the goofy looking guy that is pictured sitting on the rock. You see, the geodesic gnome has a goofy looking guy sitting on a rock, and then you go to the nymphomane, and you have another funky looking person sitting on a rock. And those two people might have been married at one time. Uh, I haven't talked about Gary Hart, but I actually think Gary Hart's the guy pictured in the foul sewer odor. Uh, but maybe it's Elliot Gould because he's got his eyes open too. Let's see. All right. So I've had my fun with that. All right. Next, I'm now okay. If you don't like Murderopedia, if you don't like this weird thinking that I sometimes have about these puzzles, then you can just tune out the rest of the show. Just cut it off now. But I'm going to get into the unlikely and odd facts about the back of the book. And if you remember, I was talking about a solve idea in Florida and being around Titusville, Florida. And if you find it interesting that Bernard Eugene Giles uh, was in Titusville, Florida in late 73, and he was arrested in 73 and put in prison in 74. And uh, again, the bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly here. But Nancy Jerry, Paula Darlene Hamrick, Carolyn Jan Bennett, Sharon Mary Wilmer, and Krista Jean Melton all unfortunately uh, were victims of this guy. He lived in a trailer park that is fairly adjacent to Sand Point. And these were all basically execution style uh, assassination. But a few of the oddities about this is that Bernard Giles picked up his victims in a Mercury comet. He picked up his victories in a comet. Uh, uh, no, hold it, a Plymouth Mercury. Anyway, the vehicle that he picked his victims up in was a Mercury. And going along with that whole space center theme, it's just difficult to get past that. Anyway, and if you want to go look at some of his artwork, just Google Bernard Giles 2019 art. And once again, Byron predicts the future. Or Palancar paints the future. Okay, just go look at that image. And again, this sometimes turns into weird stuff. But so the Oliver Camp Road is the location of victim number 3, and Parish Road is the location of victim number 2, and his Mobile Manor trailer park. He's 20 years old when this happened. Is where victim number 3 was found, and that was right by But the thing about it is the Christmas Day. Uh, this all occurred on Christmas Day, and I finally may have found an explanation for the guy on the sofa, or for the Poultrygeist. For the Poultrygeist, maybe I finally found my home for the Poultrygeist, and this is the Torments. Uh, well, anyway, Torments is enough, and the Poultrygeist. I would, if you had to tell me who the Poultrygeist was, I would say it's Santa Claus, sleeping in his Santa robe, because the head on the pillow is is definitely asleep, and I don't know, it just kind of looks like a cape that he's wearing, and he's got his head on a pillow. Um, I'm not sure what the little tag on the pillow says, but anyway, I just look at this one and say maybe this is where this one goes. Um, then the other thing is that I didn't really put this. Maybe I didn't have a really good location for the lady that was carrying the. Um, uh, my best explanation was the economy sized. Uh, my best explanation for the economy sized one was that it was uh, Clooney or somebody that advertised paper towels. And I'm now wondering if I need to look at Scott, because this all happened just below Scott, uh, Scott's somethingville. And so maybe on the giant economy size, the caveat emptor, the buyer beware. Um, I don't know if this is. I know Lucy looks to be in that, but there's another ogre in there. Um, but I don't know if the Scott Paper Towel Company uh, would be what I should be looking for here. Scott Paper Towel, 1970. Well, they have Scott Tissue. Oh, you can actually buy a 1978 roll of toilet paper on eBay right now. I can't believe that. Can you? I can't hardly believe that. Uh, the history of paper towels. Burkett's office products. Let's see what this has to say. The Scott Paper Company invents paper towels. Paper towels have been commonly used elements today, but history dates back to 1879 when Clarence and Urban Scott, two brothers from Philadelphia, founded their paper company. Okay, well, that takes you to Philadelphia. So Scott soon found about a teacher in Philadelphia who had come up with the idea to battle against colds in school. Every student with a runny nose was handed a piece of soft paper so that germs wouldn't contaminate. Well, people who might need one of those are like Leo DeRocher and Ernest Borgnine. Um, there's several other people that have a big schnoz. But anyway, Scott then decided to try to convince the school to purchase a carload of paper towels. Okay, so they were able to do that. So in 1931, uh, they went on to bigger and better things. Okay, well, that didn't provide us a whole lot of information. So thank you, Burkatts, for giving me some clickbait. Appreciate that. Uh, Here's something about the 1970s. Philadelphia schools where it started. So they had Procter and Gamble and Charmin and a bunch of other people started to compete with them in the 50s and 60s. In the 70s, Scott began to diversify. Uh, the first non-paper acquisition was the Plastic Coating Corporation of Massachusetts. Uh, in '67, S.D. Warren, a maker of fine book papers, was bought. McCabe returned in '69 as president and CEO. Harrison Dunning took over as chairman. Ooh, and then vice chairman was Paul C. Baldwin's. Uh, they had 11 competitors in the toilet tissue market by 1970. Okay, so I guess Scott sold 102 million of new common stock to Canadian-based Brascan, raising the holding company of Scott. Anyway, all right, that seems to be a rabbit hole we don't want to go down. All right, but the reason I mentioned that is Scottsmore is a community uh, directly to the north of, and if you look at that image and that's Scott's paper, you couldn't hardly get more of that than what's in that. Uh, so those are a couple of items. Here's my spam call for the day. I usually get at least one spam call a day, so we'll try to ignore that. The Way We Were. If you look at the cover of the movie poster for The Way We Were, it's got that beach feel to it with the ocean coming in, and the tide looks to be rolling in. And if they were trying to put you together with The Way We Were, just so I give you the quick overview. The plot is Katie Morosky and Hubble Gardner. Hubble can't get much more than that than a guy named Hubble. Are two college students with immense different lives in 37. Katie is a Marxist Jew with strong anti-war opinions, and Hubble is a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. They briefly dance at the senior prom, then they part ways. The two meet again in New York City near the end of World War II. There's South Pacific, stuff. Uh, he then gets a screenplay where he goes to Hollywood. Uh, anyway, you can read the rest of it. But years later, Katie and Hubble meet by chance in front of the Plaza Hotel in New York City, where Katie is demonstrating to ban the bomb. And the peace sign, I think the peace sign actually came out of that period. And ultimately they part tender in a bittersweet farewell. The C&D symbol, designed by Gerald Holtom in 1958, has become a nearly universal peace symbol used in many different versions worldwide. So you wonder where that peace sign came from? It's actually a campaign for nuclear disarmament insignia that was created by Gerald Holtom in '58. And so many people have that circle, some people probably think that the peace sign came from the Volkswagen. No, no, no. It came from the campaign for nuclear disarmament. And so maybe that's why the eyes are glowing in the picture of the guy that I think looks like Gary Hart in the back of the book. But anyway, I think the key takeaway is the campaign for nuclear disarmament and the bomb and the protest. If you want to hear about Gerald Herbert Holtom, English artist, designer, graduate of the Royal College, he's famous for designing the nuclear disarmament logo. But that's about it. At Gresham College. So that's the information about that guy. All right. What else do we got? Okay, so you can find Barbara Streisand's television hairpieces, and which show these braids, and they actually sold for $576. The auction estimate for this lot was over $1,000. So the hair of Barbara Streisand, maybe not quite as appealing as it maybe once was. I just tried to make a joke about the way we were. But anyway, her hair's not quite as appealing as it once was. Okay, all right, I've had my fun with that. I talk about colleges with kangaroo names. Uh, all right, well, again, this is my general wrap up show on The Secret. If I make any breathtaking discoveries, I'll come live and talk about them. There's this nagging story I read about this woman that jumped off the Hollywood sign. And I don't know if he's into window jumpers or not, but in the back of the book, and I guess I'm gonna go here. Why not? I went there before. So in the back of the book, there's an obvious reference to uh, the cast of um, Mr. Kangaroo, uh, the the clock, and the whole thing that has to do with Captain Kangaroo. So I'm going to tell you about Captain Kangaroo because many of you probably don't know about Captain Kangaroo. Just in case I'm right about this. So Captain Kangaroo is an American children's television series that was on for 29 years between 55 and 84. And if you're my age and you didn't grow up in front of the TV watching Captain Kangaroo, then you didn't have the same upbringing I did. But it was conceived by Bob Keeshan, who was also played the title character Captain Kangaroo. And Keeshan also portrayed the original Clarabelle the Clown on the Howdy Doody show. Okay, well, the thing about Captain Kangaroo is that, if you look at the cast, in the back of the book, I see uh, the Mr. Green Jeans as the guy wearing the overalls. And that was portrayed by Hugh Lumpy Branham. But the interesting part is Cosmo Allegretti appeared as Mr. Bunny Rabbit and Mr. Moose. Dennis the Apprentice, Willie, Miss Frog, Mr. Whispers, Dancing Bear, and Grandfather Clock. And if you go look at the images of the Grandfather Clock, you might see some resemblance to one of the cask itself that has a portion of one of them that's been found looking like the Grandfather Clock. Sam Levine played the Banana Man. The Banana Man was in this, and he was a vaudeville character created by Adolph Proper, who worked under the stage name as A. Robbins. So there's there, and then you need to look at the Mr. Bunny Rabbit. You got Mr. Moose. But anyway, Debbie Weems appeared as Debbie, and she was the voice for the puppet Baby Duck as well. There's a few more people in this cast, and the Grandfather Clock. If you go do the wiki on Captain Kangaroo, and you look under in it, and you look at the very first image, you've got Dancing Bear in the picture, Bunny Rabbit, then you have Captain Kangaroo, you have Grandfather Clock, Mr. Moose, and then Mr. Green Jeans. And tell me you don't think that the guy wearing the overalls is, got to be Mr. Green Jeans. Now, the other person that I can maybe do the Green Jeans with is uh, Eddie Albert. And Eddie Albert basically was another TV guy, famous for wearing his green jeans. And as later he did this show with called Green Acres. But the problem with using him in Green Acres is that he usually wore a tie and didn't really wear the green jeans. But the Green Acres show was about uh, this guy that was from New York and moved out to the country. Uh, my other possible uh, overall guy in the back of the book is the painting by that was a very famous painting. Everybody grew up and knew this painting, and the painting is known as American Gothic. So everybody growing up about my age knew about this painting called American Gothic. And American Gothic is a famous painting where a guy is wearing overalls, but over the overalls is a jacket, if you will. And it's a guy holding a pitchfork. Everybody, if you don't know American Gothic, the painting, the important part is that it's in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago. And it's been there a long time. And if they're just trying to point you to Chicago with the pitchfork and the guy in the overalls, and that story has to do with Chicago, then, or maybe it has to do with more than one story. But these are the things that they had to be referencing at the time I was growing up. Grant Wood. And a curiosity in the back of the book is the sophomore jinx. Why is there a rake? Why is there a rake in that picture next to the refrigerator, or what I consider to be the refrigerator? And I don't know if there's a calendar on the refrigerator or what that is. But anyway, there's a rake over there. But anyway, I don't know if they're trying to make a pun of American Gothic here. Wood entered the painting in a competition at the Art Institute of Chicago. One judge deemed it a, quote, comic Valentine, but a museum patron persuaded the jury to award the painting the bronze medal and a $300 cash prize. The same patron also persuaded the Art Institute to buy the painting, and it remains part of the Chicago Museum's collection. It was reproduced in papers all around. This thing has been parodied and maligned and a whole lot of stuff. Okay, let me take you to Grant Wood. We got to look at Grant Wood now. So Grant Devoisin Wood. Grant Devoisin Wood. Oh, anyway, Wood was born in rural Iowa, and he is the son of Hattie DeEtte Weaver Wood and Francis Maryville Wood. His mother moved the family to Cedar Rapids. Oh, he went to Washington High School. That's always good to hear. Yeah, I don't know if there's any more to this than that. In 1932, Wood helped found the Stone City Art Colony near his hometown to help artists. Wood was a closeted homosexual. Well, that's probably really good to the story, because it seems like a lot of these stories in the back of the book are like that. There was an unsuccessful attempt by a colleague, Lester Longman, to get him fired both on explicit moral grounds and for his advocacy of regionalism. Critic Janet Maslin states that his friends knew him to be, quote, homosexual and a bit facetious in his masquerade as an overall clad farm boy. Boom! That's probably got something to do with it. This whole overall clad farm boy. Uh, yeah, I don't know if we want to look at overalls, but overalls or bib brace overalls are called dungarees. Dungarees are the type of garment usually used in protective clothing when working. Overalls were originally made of denim, and they were invented by the Jacob W. Davis and Levi Strauss Company. If you like your German Jewish immigrants, Levi Strauss, and you like San Francisco, the bib overall can take you directly downtown San Francisco. So, maybe the guy in overalls is in the back of the book just to show you the overalls, so you can then figure out where they were developed and made, and perhaps that's the deal. And I now see that in the diesel black gold fall and winter of 2010 collection, the overall designed by Stella McCartney is making a comeback. Well, hell, there you go. All right, I just wanted to mention that. Okay, so the other reason to go the direction of Barbra Streisand is that Barbra Streisand was probably the person who most famously teased her hair with a flat iron. And so that's another reason to consider Barbra Streisand, because of the flat iron. And we already talked about the Flatiron Building, right? But so in 1909, Isaac Sharrow patented the first hair straightener made of two flat heated irons that were pressed together. Hold on, my phone rang a minute ago. Hello? Ouch! God dang it. I wasn't paying attention. I just answered the iron. Ah! Okay, this was a popular joke back in the 1980s. How did Helen Keller burn her face? Someone called her on the telephone and she answered the iron. How did she burn the other side of the face? They called back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. Your iron should be set at less than 200 degrees. So let me see if I can find this. Barbra Streisand. And the flat iron. So there's the article called "How Barbra Streisand Inspired the Invention of something." The classic Barbara. Anyway, there's a picture in this article, which is Streisand stylefiles.com. And you get various pictures of Barbara wearing her little rat tail in her hair. Matilda was a 1978 film. It's directed by Daniel Mann. Is Dan Mann any relation to Daniel Mann? Also known as Daniel Chuggerman. Chuggerman. Yeah. Which drinking image were you in? So it starred Elliot Gould, Robert Mitchum, and Lionel Strander. Lionel Strander! Pick them up along the road if they're stranded. Anyway, okay. So it's a film about a boxing kangaroo, Matilda. But the reason I mention this is because there's a lady, Matilda, that I mentioned in one of the backs of the book. Uh, Lorenzo Gilliard. Oh, we don't need to talk about him. Debbie Booth Weems. And this really saddened me yesterday. But I encourage you to look up Debbie Booth Weems. So Debbie Booth Weems, and in this, if you sadly, if you go to the Find a Grave for Debbie Booth Weems, you'll see the picture of Debbie next to the grandfather clock that's smiling. And once you see that picture, if you're into The Secret, you won't be able to unsee it. So we're talking about Debbie Booth, and there's a Booth in the Edwin and Edwina reference. So Debbie Weems was an actress and singer. She was born in Houston. She later moved to Marlin, Texas after her parents divorced. Her mother remarried Frank Calvert Posh Oltorf, a lobbyist for Brown and Root, who was in LBJ's personal circle of friends. So here we're at Lyndon Johnson. Grassy Knoll, maybe she knew too much. Just saying. Just saying. Okay, conspiracy theorists, unite now. Please, conspiracy theorists, unite now. And I don't know why there's no more investigation on this. So her mother remarried Frank Calvert Posh Oltorf, a lobbyist for Brown and Root, who was in LBJ's personal circle of friends. After attending public schools in Marlin, Debbie then went to Interlochen Arts Academy as a drama major. And after leaving Interlochen, she later was an alternate cast member in an off-Broadway production of Godspell. The Interlochen Arts Academy is in Wisconsin or Michigan, somewhere like that. I don't know. Can't remember. I think Michigan. Anyway, after leaving, she was in the production Godspell, as well as starring in other theatrical productions. She was in quite a few television commercials. I haven't linked her to Scott's Towels yet, and had a minor role in the film Between the Lines. She was most famous as Debbie on the Captain Kangaroo Show from 1973 to 77, where she delighted millions of viewers. In 1976, Debbie produced an album where she sang songs from the Captain Kangaroo Show. So sadly, around 1976, she started suffering from depression. And she, with the assistance of her family and thinking that she had depression and anorexia, had taken her to a mental health facility. Well, she convinced people that she was better. And on a trip back from the mental health facility to her New York apartment, she jumped or fell from the 16th floor window. The death was ruled a suicide. But conspiracy theorists, let's now, at this point, unite in the conspiracy in the 19 LBJ circle of friends and Dallas. Okay, hopefully I don't have to explain all that to you. But anyway, there was some people that thought that possibly LBJ had to do with Kennedy's assassination. So Brown and Root is I think an industrial service company. It was George and Herman Brown. Herman Park partnered with Herman's brother-in-law, Dan Root, to create a Texas-based construction company. They built a lot of roads and Central Texas bridges. So anyway, maybe they were going to get cut off from friendly contracts as part of the administration. Okay, what else do we have? So I'm really sad about Debbie Weems. because I used to watch that show, and I honestly didn't know that she died when she was 28 years old. Because by the time 1980 rolled around, I was in high school. But I'd watched that Captain Kangaroo, uh, when I was like 7 or 8, and maybe 9 or 10. Uh, so I was kind of sad that that had happened. But I don't know. I searched and I cannot find where that apartment was. All these windows in the back of the book bug the hell out of me. You've got instances of all kinds of things coming out of windows, by windows, and many of these freaking pictures. And I got to figure out what puzzle has to do with the window. Um, it's the one thing that I'm not having much success dealing with is finding a solution to why are all those windows there. Okay, well, I'm going to see if anybody's joined in. As always, anybody joined in today? Uh, oh, Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Good to see you. Glad you joined in. So anyway, this is probably going to do it on my odds and ends of the secret. I don't think I'm going to leave this one up for a whole long time because it was just some random things that were bothering me that I couldn't really explain that I thought were important. And um, so I'm going to do one more show on this a little bit later, where I review my videos I put out previously on the tribute, and then I'm going to put this book away. All right. Good day.